We live in a world of fakes. Fake designer bags, fake stories, fake booties. Some fakes are easier to spot. Take fake accents, for instance.
I have lots of mix. Chinese, Pakistan, Sudanese, a lot of, it's like so much of mix.
Fake food, however, is a different story. Wasabi, for instance, is a lie. What you've been eating is horseradish with mustard and green food coloring. And that's because wasabi is incredibly expensive. Even in Japan, 95% of the stuff served is fake. So here's the issue. That coloring is a combination of tetrazine and brilliant blue FCF food dyes, both of which have been described as industrial waste and banned in countries like Norway and France because of their links to allergies and increased hyperactivity. Of course, no one is going to gobble huge amounts of the stuff like there's no tomorrow, unless they want their obituary title to read Death by Wasabi. But it would have been nice if that informed us first about what we were eating. In most cases, however, fake food is usually the work of criminal syndicates. Just last week, authorities in China busted several underground factories that had been churning out fake branded sauces and flavorings using dirty tap water and industrial salt, which doesn't sound so bad until you find out that industrial salt is used as a filler for detergents. Among the brands that were ripped off were Nestle's Maggi and Lee Kum Kee. Now, before you roll your eyes and say, "It's China, ma, what do you expect?" Well, fake food, or food fraud as the business is called, is a global issue. Remember the fake Milo incident? Authorities seized 250,000 ringgit of the stuff produced by a syndicate in Negeri Sembilan. And when we're not making fake food, we're helping to sell fake food. A couple of years ago, news exploded about how Asian countries, including Malaysia, were exporting repackaged honey from China. Fake honey that's really a mix of corn syrup and a bit of aluminium residue. Now, food fraud isn't just about slapping on a fake label. It's also about the special ingredients they forgot to tell you about. For example, boric acid, which is used as an insecticide and linked to 13 deaths in Malaysia in 1988, is banned in foods under the Food Regulation 1985. But according to the Consumers Association of Penang, boric acid is still being used in yellow noodles, nyonya kueh, and dumplings. Not that I'm trying to turn you off your CNY banqueting, by the way. The truth is, because the food industry is so massive, organized crime is piling in. The bad guys have discovered that food fraud is a more lucrative trade than drugs. Listen to Chris Elliott, the founder of Belfast's Institute for Global Food Security, telling CBC about the food fraud business.
It's estimated that the world grocery trade will reach about $12 trillion in the next couple of years. It's also estimated that food fraud accounts for about 5 to 10% of that trade. So 5 to 10% of 12 trillion is a lot of dollars.
The crime is also less risky. Those guys who were making fake Milo were investigated under the Trade Descriptions Act. The penalty is a maximum fine of 50,000 ringgit and or up to 3 years in prison. The punishment for drug pushers in comparison. Meanwhile, in Europe, the most drastic sentences are said to be between 1 and 2 years. That's why Italy's mafia has corrupted the virgin olive oil business. And what's scary is that, like most fake food, fake olive oil isn't toxic, or at least toxic enough to kill you right away. Here's 60 Minutes producer Guy Campanile telling Overtime editor Anne Silvio why.
If you kill people, bad business. Mafia hates attention.
Yeah, and you want repeat customers.
And you want repeat customers, exactly.
That also means that the chance of them getting caught is much smaller. And obviously, it's not just the mafia. The South American drug cartels, the Chinese triads, criminal networks everywhere are in it as well. So do we consumers have a fighting chance at all against these guys? Well, not really. I mean, there's only so much the governments and legitimate businesses can do. That's because food supply chains are very complex. As Elliot, the guy who founded the Institute for Global Food Security, explains, every time you have a transaction in the supply chain, there's another opportunity to cheat. Just look at ready-made meals, for instance. One meal has ingredients from perhaps 10 countries, and each of these ingredients will likely have passed through multiple countries during preparation and packaging. Plus, a lot of food products can be labeled as medicine or agricultural byproducts to bypass food regulations. Sure, the authorities could conduct more raids and test everything, but that would be impractical and also make food more expensive. When Malaysians are so cheap that you see big groups sharing one non-shareable bottomless Coke at Fridays, you know that's not going to fly. Look, I'm not arguing against more efforts or stricter regulations, but I believe that it would also be naive to think that this would all be solved if the government or big business just did something. But I don't mean we should just accept that this is the way things are either. For starters, we can take a harder look at our purchases and ask ourselves, is this too cheap to be true? We can also demand more detailed labels provided by services like Follow This Food. This app takes production data from producers and repurposes it in the form of a barcode sticker. So if you scan this label with your smartphone, you can trace the individual products back through the supply chain to the source producer. And finally, homework. If we netizens can uncover the identity of our favorite steering lock chick in less than 24 hours without police assistance, we can definitely read up on this massive bait and switch. We have to, because our food system is broken. Just saying.